David, the more I see the left get involved in these cultural issues like cancel culture and wokeness, the more I think the left should just not even bother to fight those issues. What do you think? This is a very interesting question. We see that right now there's a really big divide between the Democratic and Republican Party, in the sense that the Democratic Party is almost exclusively about legislation and issues, and the Republican Party is not. And earlier this week, I argued with Republican strategist Amanda Mackey about it, who I still don't even know exactly what point she was trying to make. But needless to say, her argument is, well, now Republicans can't do policy because they don't control anything. Well, but they didn't do any policy during the Trump era either. As a result, the right is just fighting cultural issues. They're talking about cancel culture. They're talking about control, trans sports, control of the narrative by the left, wokeness, and all of this different stuff. I don't believe that the left should give up those issues, but I do think that it would be best for the left to realize that just because an issue is getting a lot of traction on Twitter and Fox News doesn't mean it's actually an issue that much of the Democratic electorate cares about. And you need to look only at the 2020 Democratic primary to understand that. And I know this is painful for many in my audience to hear. I wish it were different. But there were a lot of people, millions of people on the left, who spend a lot of time on Twitter and Reddit and saw the enthusiasm for Bernie Sanders at rallies and wrongly believed that the Bernie wing of the Democratic electorate is bigger than it actually is. It doesn't mean it's insignificant. It doesn't mean it doesn't matter. It doesn't mean that it's not a wing with good ideas. It is. But the 2020 Democratic primary reminded us, when it wasn't even close. I mean, Joe Biden really won very easily by millions of votes, even before it was, everybody bailed and all that stuff. What you see on Reddit and Twitter and on Newsmax or Fox News, it's not what the bulk of the country actually cares about. And similarly, for me, it's not about the left conceding or giving up on the cultural issues. It's understanding that most Americans are not focused in on trans sports, wokeness, Dr. Seuss, or cancel culture. They're just not. First of all, tons of Americans don't even pay attention to news in the way that you and I do. And of those that do, we know the issues that are most important. It's in no particular order: the economy, jobs, wages, healthcare, coronavirus, pandemic recovery. Those are the issues. Those are the primary issues. So once you understand that, and then you realize that very little of these culture wars involve actual policymakers in policy positions. This is an important distinction. Yes, Congressman Jim Jordan will go on Laura Ingram's show and talk about the cancel culture, Laura. He does that. Matt Gaetz, when he's trying to distract from, investigations into child sex trafficking, he will talk about cancel culture. I get it. You see people like, Marjorie Taylor Greene or whatever try to bring some of this stuff to the House floor. Jim Jordan says you need an investigation into Dr. Seuss. For the most part, very little of this culture war stuff is even touching real policy making, legislative time at the state level and at the national level. It's amplified by conservatives, a few of them. It's amplified by the internet. It's amplified by some right-wing media. So the way I would say it is, Democrats don't need to just concede a loss on cultural issues. Democrats don't need to not bother fighting on cultural issues. Democrats just need to recognize that the culture war is a distraction that Republicans have chosen to take on because they have no policy ideas other than prevent Democrats from doing anything. And they have nothing to actually bring to the table at this point in time. One last thought on this. Eventually, Democrats tend to be vindicated on most of these cultural issues. I mean, look at abortion, okay? It took, 40, 50 years? Abortion being legal in most cases is more popular now than at any point since Roe v. Wade. It took a while, but the culture shifted and caught up with where, quote, the left has been. Gay marriage. Most people in the US, including more than 50% of Republicans, now believe gay marriage should just be legal. It's been legal since 2015. Democrats, the left, have been fighting for that for much longer. Eventually, the culture came around. Marijuana approval, death penalty not being, you get it, right? So another reason not to engage in the way that the right wants to is that eventually the country tends to come around. Now, you don't want to ignore serious issues like death penalty, marijuana, etc. altogether, because if you do, then nobody's advocating for your side. But the cancel culture thing is different. And I do think that Democrats should just understand that this is not a big issue to most Americans, period. One of our sponsors is privacy.com. They're giving you $5 when you sign up for their completely free service at privacy.com/Pakman. I've been using Privacy for a little over a year now. You've heard me talk about it before. It's a lifesaver, and here's how it works. It takes just a couple of minutes to set up. Anytime you buy something online or on the phone, instead of actually using your real credit card number, the Privacy app and the browser plugin let you give each company a randomized virtual credit card number that you create out of thin air. It'll even autofill the card number with one click. And the payment is taken out of your checking account without the merchant ever knowing your real information. So this allows you to keep your banking information secure, but also to take control of your finances. You can create up to 12 of these virtual credit cards a month. You can set spending limits. You can freeze them. You can delete them anytime you want. So when you do this, it means you're not going to be charged when you don't want to be, because you can destroy the virtual card number right after using it, which, for instance, I love using free trials because I know I won't be charged when the trial is over if I use a virtual credit card number. You're keeping your identity private by not telling companies who you are. You're keeping your bank or credit card info protected against data breaches and identity theft. And it's free. And like I said, you'll get $5 to spend when you sign up at privacy.com/Pakman.